So today we are here with Nuno. He's in love with the bikes. He also loves the music.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time.
Let's hear Nuno tell his own story about his relation with bikes. When did he start it?
Well, I started riding a bike when I was a kid, like 5, and since I used to live in the country, that was our main toy. So we basically rode the bike all day long, and that was the start. Then we moved to the city in Asia. So
In Asia, this all happened in Asia.
no, this happened in Portugal.
Portugal?
Yeah.
Exactly where in what area in Portugal?
In Sesimbra.
In Sesimbra, yes,
Yeah.
close to the beach.
Yeah, close to the beach, in the countryside. There were almost no roads, so we would just ride in the country. Yeah,
Lots
all
of
day
fun,
long.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah, good times.
And then you moved to Asia, to which country?
We went to Macau for 11 years.
At what age did
At
that happen?
7, I was 7.
Yes.
Yeah. So we went there for 11 years. During that time, I almost never rode a bike because you're in the city and
It was hard.
yeah, it's too much traffic. The traffic it's really intense and it's not very safe for a kid to ride.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. Not even leisurely on weekends and parks.
Yeah, sometimes, but maybe once a month it didn't count. It was like, oh, let's ride a bike today, but it was a really small area that there wasn't much traffic. But mostly we didn't ride bikes there. So then I came back.
Yes.
18, 19, yeah, 17.
17.
So I finished high school, I came to college, and then there was a time that I was completely broke. I didn't have any money. I had 2 guitars.
Yes.
One.
That's another passion of Nuno that we are going to talk about. Yes.
I had 2 guitars and 1 broken iPod. And I went to the cash converters and I said, look, I have this guitar and this iPod and I want a bike. So they gave me a mountain bike, a Scott mountain bike that was,
It was a good trade, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good trade. It was nice considering that the iPod was broken. So
Yeah.
it was cool. So I started riding a bike basically to save money because the
On your commuting? On
yeah.
a daily basis, yes.
Yeah. So I started riding in Lisbon.
It was not very common at that time to see commuters in a bike. in
Almost
Lisbon.
nobody rode a bike then. I don't know when it was, but it was like
Maybe 14 years ago, no,
10,
more.
10 years ago.
10 years
maybe.
ago?
Yeah. I started riding, and then I went to this company that's a bike messengers company. It's called Camisola Amarela.
Yes.
And I said, look, I ride a bike every day, so my mornings are free. So would you guys be interested in having a new bike messenger?
To deliver
Yeah.
deliver messages.
To make some, and so they did. They did call me. I started being a bike messenger. And
How was that? Can you explain how was that back then?
Uh,
It was not common to work to use the bike for commuting,
Yeah.
and even more uncommon in Lisbon was to do some bike delivery service.
yes, it was kind of crazy.
You were all in yellow because I recall back then when you started, you were news in some
Yeah,
newspapers,
yeah.
and I read about it and I said, hey, this is great. I'm not sure about the financial viability of the business itself, but it was a great idea for
Yeah,
me
yeah,
because
yeah.
I was aware, like I'm now, that in New York and in London and some other great cities
yeah,
around the world, it's very common to have a bike delivery service.
Yeah.
It still prevails today, and we are going to talk with Pedro, that's the
Yeah.
owner. But please
Yeah.
enlighten us about the experience of being a bike messenger in a time.
Yeah, well, riding in Lisbon during that time, it was a bit crazy because there were almost no bikes in Lisbon, so the cars were not used to having a bike on their lane. So it was a fight.
A lot of warning. And,
Yeah, a lot of
and
warning.
cursing.
Yeah.
And-
But it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was like riding a roller coaster.
Can you tell us about your favorite episode during that day? Something that.
Oh, I don't know.
Something funny. I'm not want to talk about that crazy shit, the accidents and the almost accidents.
Yeah.
That dangerous
No,
stuff.
actually, I was riding as a bike messenger for 3 years, I think, and I only had like one big accident. The only two things that I had was like falling down, but
Yeah.
stopped.
No.
I was standing and I fall down from the bike. But I only had one accident. I think now that I'm not a bike messenger anymore, I look back and I think that some things were really unresponsible.
Yeah, we all
But,
have that
yeah.
that track record on our minds. That
Yeah.
what I did back then.
Yeah.
I was
But-
not a bike delivery service, but anyway.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was weird because riding nowadays, there's a lot more bikes in Lisbon.
And the bike paths are
Yeah.
better now.
But still, having bike lanes right now feels like if you're riding on the road, maybe the cars will say, "Oh, you should be on your
Go to the
bike
lanes.
lane."
They are not aware of the
Yeah,
laws
that-
because you don't have to go there.
Yeah,
You can go, but you don't
Yeah.
have to. Yes.
Yeah. So back then it was like, oh, okay, so you gotta ride a bike every day. I was riding like minimum of 30 kilometers a day. Sometimes I did 80, 90. I don't know. It was crazy.
You were in shape back then.
Yeah, I was really in shape actually, and it was really weird being a bike messenger because your life is like it's going really fast all the time. Like you
What-
don't have any time to eat.
Yeah. But did you use the Scott? With
No,
the-
no. I started using the Scott as a commuter in the beginning. Then my grandfather, he was a amateur cyclist. His brother was a professional cyclist, and there was this bike standing in my father's garage. He had been standing there for 20 years, maybe.
It was decoration.
Yeah, and I was like, one day I went and I said, "Oh, that's my grandfather's bike. Let me
Let's
see.
give it a try."
Let's give it a try." So I put some air on the tires and fixed the brakes and stuff, and I went for a walk and I started, whoa, this rides way faster than mine.
Your Scott.
Bigger
yeah.
wheels and
Yeah. It was a road bike.
Yeah, and it was a good road bike.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like, okay, let's buy a road bike, and after the road bike, it was a fixed gear.
And you use the fixed gear to deliver the packs and the messages?
Yes.
Yes.
Most of my stay as a bike messenger, I used a fixed gear bike. Yeah. Mainly because some people complain about the hills in Lisbon, but
That's a myth.
yeah,
I think.
And the thing is that there's nothing to broke there. There's nothing to break in a fixed gear bike. You just need to take care of your tires and
Be in
Nothing
relatively
else.
good shape.
yeah. If you have
You don't need to be a pro to
No.
cyclist to ride the fixed gear in Lisbon.
No.
We have 7 hills. It's
Yeah.
true, but it's not that hard to climb.
yeah, some are, but
But not all. Not
they're
this-
they're doable.
yeah, completely doable. And can you tell us about your passion about music and the jazz music?
Okay.
It arose in your life at the same pace as the bike
Yeah.
passion, or it was separate?
Well, actually, it kind of replaced the bike because when I thinking of it now and recalling the age that I went to Asia. Actually, I rode a bike in Portugal. Then I went to Asia. I stopped riding a bike, and then I started playing the guitar. My mother, she said that I needed to learn music, and I didn't want to learn music at all. And we went to the music school, and she said, "So, what do you want to learn?" I said, "I want to learn anything." Okay. So you're learning the violin then? I said, I don't want to learn the violin. I want to play the guitar. I wanna
Guitar,
play the
something
guitar.
cool,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
cooler than the violin.
Yeah. So I started playing the guitar at 7, and then I studied music there. I came back. I eventually quit college and started to study music. I studied jazz.
You studied jazz there.
Yeah. in Portugal.
In Portugal,
Yeah, I studied jazz. Then I made some gigs and tried to make a living out of music, but it wasn't working very well because you need to.
It's not so. You didn't have so many gigs as you wished, but
no, it doesn't matter. It's like you need to invest a lot of time if you want to be a jazz musician
yes.
and have a career. You need to have a lot of time and some money. And I didn't have any money.
You should go to cash converters again and give it a try, more serious try. But what do you like? Do you think that there is some kind of relation between riding a bike and being especially a jazz musician with all the improvisation and
I don't think it's about improvisation. I started feeling that connection with music and the bike when I started riding a fixed gear bike.
Because of the freedom?
No, it's
I'm trying to understand fixed gear bike thing because for me it's a bit awkward, especially when you don't have it's not the fixed gear, it's the don't having the brakes because most orthodox.
When I was a messenger, I rode with a brake.
You were a sinner because the orthodox fixed gear bike rider
there's no brakes.
Don't allow the brakes. So.
But if you have no brakes, you're going slower. So you need to have brakes.
For me, it's still a bit, but I will give it a try. You'll see.
You should, because you will never go back.
but let's go back to the music. You because all the idea that I have about fixed gear is the freedom that you feel even more than in a regular bike.
Yeah, the thing about fixed gear bikes and I think the connection that I feel with fixed gear bikes and music and mainly improvising in jazz is that it's the same thing. It's the same feeling. I actually wrote a post about this. For you to be able to improvise and to be inside a music, a tune, you need to study really hard. You need to play and play and play and play. And when it gets to a time that there's a click and before you know it, you're playing and it's natural. It feels natural. It's like a mantra. I don't know how to say it in English.
It's mantra.
And I feel exactly the same way with a fixed gear bike. Like, for example, I hadn't rode a bike for a long time and I picked my fixed gear bike and I went in my town Sesimbra. I went to Cabo Especial, which is a straight road, almost no climbs, so you're basically on a time trial on a fixed gear bike. So when you start riding, I was like, I haven't rode a bike in a long time, especially a fixed gear, so I'm gonna be really tired by the end I finished this ride. And after 5 kilometers of riding, you start to get into this mantra. Like the cadence is like when you start not fighting the bike, because riding in fixed gears you need to stop fighting with the bike because she will help you when you stop pedaling.
You have to trust.
Yeah, you have to let her go. It's like a connection. It's the same with improvising. It all comes together, and after that it's like and it's really hard to explain
words.
But I really feel there's a connection in my personal experience riding a fixed gear bike, like long distances and improvising and music, even classical music. It comes to a part that everything comes together, like you're building up and then everything comes together. It's like riding a fixed gear bike. You start riding and then it comes to a point then it all comes together. So
makes sense.
Yeah,
I will give it a try. I'm convinced. I don't know who you are, but I'm convinced to give it a try one of these days. So let's come back to nowadays. What is the use that you do of the bike? Do you still commute in the bike? And today you are dedicated working as a mechanic, bike mechanic. Can you explain us the transition from the musician to the mechanic to the bikes? It's a huge passion.
So when when I was trying to live doing gigs as a jazz musician, I started to teach. So eventually I got too many students and I stopped playing. So I wrote as a bike messenger and I teach. And I always built my own bikes. So I started a little.
You have the knowledge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have the
On your
knowledge.
own, but you have the knowledge.
I started taking everything apart and putting them back together, and taking everything apart and putting them back together. So you eventually
That's
learn.
how you learn. Yeah.
Eventually you learn.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you fall.
yeah, yeah. So after that, I was riding as a bike messenger. I started my own it was not a business because it was more like an hobby. I had a little place that I custom built some bikes, and made some projects, and started working as a mechanic. And I stopped teaching because I needed a break, because teaching
It's
is very
tiring,
exhausting.
yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, I did it for a long time, so now I'm on pause.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still use the bike as a commuting for commuting, because for me it's really irritating to ride a car in Lisbon. It's horrible. Like, you need to pay every time you park the car. There's a lot of traffic. People are always late to go somewhere, and you cannot go through them. So.
But you come from Sesimbra and go back?
No. I'm
No,
living actually quite near. I'm living in Infante Santo in
Yes.
Estrela.
So it's pretty close to the.
Yeah, it's really close. But every time I need to go to Alfragide, to Decathlon, or to
Yes.
Expo,
uh,
or even
you-
to Sesimbra, sometimes I go.
You
by
go
bike.
with the bike.
Yeah.
And the mechanic, how is it going now that you work?
Well, it's great working here, because it's like, for me, it's like working in Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been great, because I love the way Vitor works. I really believe that one of the most beautiful things in bicycles is that you can almost always fix it.
Yeah.
There's always a fix for
There's always
everything.
a solution for.
Yeah, there's always
You
a
just need
solution.
to use your imagination sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and experience and try stuff, and it's great because you're always learning every day. Like even today, Vitor was trying to take a fixed gear cog out of a wheel, and he said, "Look, I've made this like 500 times, and I can tell you this was the hardest one that I ever
to take it out."
Take it out.
Yeah. And Nuno, just one thing. Imagine that you have a friend that many times told you in the last couple of months that he wants to start using the bike on weekends. What would be your final argument to convince the guy or the girl to start using the bicycle in whatever way?
You're gonna be free.
As simple as that. You're going to be free. Yeah.
You're gonna be free.
Yeah, it's going to change the world. Because in fact, someone told me that when I started some years ago.
Yeah.
Someone told me exactly that you are going to be free and you are going to open up to see the world
Yeah.
in some different way. That's it. I think that's a valid argument, and I
Yeah.
think it's the final
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah.
Another challenge for you. Imagine that right now I will put you $1 million, euros, you name it, on your bank account, and I will give you your dream bike. What would you do right now? From now
I
on.
would buy a Mercier pink bike with a track frame, and
Can you elaborate on that? Because
Okay.
I don't know, and probably most of the guys, girls don't also know what it is. I
Okay.
know it's a bike, but can you be
it's
a bit more
it's a
specific?
track bike, like
Yes.
for velodrome riding. It's a steel frame, no carbon, no aluminium, steel frame.
Steel frame, yes. Strong
and-
guys.
Yeah, and full. The group set would have to be like all Japanese stuff, like Durace or something like that. Yeah, definitely that would be my bike.
And then what would you do? You have the bike, you have the dream bike, and how would your life be in case you have the bike and 1 million, you name it, euros, dollars, you name it, a small fortune, just
Okay, then I would never. I was thinking only of bikes. I would buy a lot of guitars, but
no teaching, no
yeah,
teaching,
no teaching.
just investing on
Yeah, I would
becoming.
probably have some classes with some guys,
yeah.
with some
What-
top musicians.
Who are your favorite musicians in what regards the jazz? I don't know,
And
maybe
in Portugal,
whatever. Portugal,
Oh.
for the world.
there are so many, but in Portugal, I would go for Paula Souza. She's a piano player. She's a good friend of mine, and she was my teacher for
What's the name again?
Paula Souza.
Paulo Souza. Yes.
Yeah, Paulo Souza. Then there are some guitar players. There are huge like Nuno Ferreira or Afonso Pais, or there are so many. But those two are, and Sergio Plagio, very important one. Sergio Plagio. Internationally, I don't know. So many. Bobo Stenson Trio, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Kurt Rosenwinkel, Wes Montgomery.
That's
I
the
could go
discography
forever. Yeah, I could
for
go on
someone that is
forever.
starting. Miles Davis, all those names. I like jazz. I don't know. Miles Davis sounds familiar. It sounds
Yeah.
familiar. I've heard, but I'm not going to say that I'm an expert. I like the sound. I like the
Yeah.
improv thing,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy the jazz musicians. I have some couple of friends
Yeah.
that are, so I know about the improvisation
Yeah.
and all the training and the
Yeah.
gigs. I think it's a lot of fun, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But have you ever came back to Macau after you leave?
No, not yet. I'm waiting for. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but
Do you miss?
yeah,
think?
definitely. Yeah, I miss. I don't know what I miss, but I definitely miss something about that because I don't know. Asia is really different from Europe, and
Yeah.
people there. I don't know if it's
More friendly, more
I think it's
connected,
more
connected with themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a thing with connection and I don't know, respectful. Maybe respectful.
Respectful.
Yeah, I feel like there's. I don't know if I can say this, but there's not much bullshit.
Yeah.
There's more bullshit in Europe, I
Yeah.
think, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I definitely miss that, and yeah, and I feel nostalgic when I see some pictures, and I was there for, I lived there for and when I was a child and part of my teenage years, so.
Part of your life is
Yeah,
there.
part
so
of my life is there, so yeah, I definitely miss it. I will eventually go back. I don't know when.
one of these days. So
Yeah, one of these days.
this is the end. Thank you, Nuno, for
You're
your
welcome.
kind words and this interview. So this with Macau and some respect and no bullshit. Just keep riding and keep smiling.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. I just been living online, my city don't show me no love, and that's fine. Fuck local radio stations.